Hi, I'm Cecilia González Godino. I'm the Marjorie Susman Curatorial Fellow at the MCA. I am going to tell you about Live Arts Noé Martínez, which is a performance that will happen Tuesday, June 4th at 6 p.m. in the Commons. This has been a really interesting performance to develop. This is all in conversation with Trade Windings, Delineating the American Tropics, an exhibition that I'm curating at the same time that will open May 18th. He has one video that is part of the exhibition as well. The performance is, continuing the narrative of the exhibition in a less static and more alive way. Trade Windings Delineating the American Tropics. It is investigating how the colonial trade routes that were inaugurated in the 15th and 16th centuries by the different European colonial powers, how these routes are being projected into the present. How can we see their aftermath in the way that products and bodies move around the world, and particularly now that there's a migratory reality that we are all engaging with. I remember the day that I met Noé for the first time in person. We were in Mexico City having coffee, and at some point he told me that he had done a research project related to maritime history and nautical languages and symbols. And he said to me that one of the things that most struck him were this thing about the winds. He learned that apparently when you're in a boat, there's two kinds of wind. You have the apparent wind that you think that you're experiencing, but it's not the real wind. And then there's the real or true wind, which is the wind that you get to experience when everything is really silent and static and you're not moving that much. I was really excited because I was curating a show about winds and the trade winds, which were the winds that took Columbus from the Canary Islands to the Bahamas. He told me actually that he was thinking about the apparent and the real winds in some sort of conversation with colonization, and how we do think about this official history as something that is really true to history, but that's actually an apparent narrative of how things developed and how these lives have a reality that official history is not accounting for. He's bringing that idea here, and he's going to be moving or standing, thinking about the winds and how things might be apparent or real, depending on your movement. Noé's work is all about language, but not only the spoken and the written language, but the languages that are beyond that, the language of the body, the language of memory, the language of the flesh. He works a lot with clay, with iron, kind of taking back to the present some of the products and materials that have had such a long history, and particularly a long colonial history. The performance will definitely engage with all these languages. There will be movement, there will be silence, percussion, ritual. I think people should try to maybe switch off the way that they look at the world and try to engage with other types of languages that live in our flesh or in our own bodies. I believe that performance art should not only be part of the public program, but it should inform the museum's vision. For me, this performance is not only a public program, but it's more part of my curatorial vision for the show. There is also something interesting, I think, when we do think about trade windings or any exhibition for that matter. We think about those as static products that the museum just leaves there for 6 months and then they're over. But I like to think about exhibitions as continuums. This narrative is living in many bodies outside the museum. This performance for me, in conversation with the show, is asking how can we engage with this public whose daily lives are permeated with these narratives about migration and about colonization or indigeneity. That is also why it is important to talk about these topics now, in the present, not only because migration is part of the news every day. We are at an all-time high migratory reality in the world and in Chicago also. It is important to know where are these dynamics coming from. These are not coincidental. People are not doing a south to north route just by coincidence, right? And when people think about colonization, they're actually thinking about the past, when this is something that has made such a big impact in every one of our lives.